everybody, and welcome back to a very exciting episode of Double Barrel Podcast. My name is Chris.
I'm Justin.
We have an awesome podcast for you today. This is our Halloween special.
That means nothing.
Actually, it does, because we're going to be torturing ourselves after we do this awesome gun review behind the bar with some very not so maybe palatable choices.
Well, I wouldn't say that has anything to do with Halloween. It has everything to do with me feeling like torturing you.
Well, just remember, the torture goes both ways.
It does, but I picked my pick for behind the bar after we talk about the gun a little bit is one that's gonna
gut rot.
It's gonna hopefully put him on his butt.
Just remember, I have plenty more for you too, buddy.
You do.
All right, well, let's get into I'm excited for this one. This one's going to be awesome.
This one should be pretty fun. But first, let's talk about our safety.
All right.
You know, of course, first rule of firearms, always treat every firearm as if it is loaded. Never put your finger on the trigger unless you are ready to fire. Never point the gun at anything you are not willing to destroy. And know what your target is and what's beyond.
Absolutely. And then what's the fifth one we always talk about?
Fifth one we always talk about is never mix your guns and alcohol.
And drink and drive. Be
responsible. Don't drink and drive.
Be responsible.
Be responsible with your alcohol. It's never okay to mix the guns and the alcohol. These things can and will kill you if you are not safe with them, which is why we talk about safety at the beginning each episode. This is the Browning BAR.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most iconic guns in U.S. history.
Absolutely. And I am excited. So this one is the gun that I bought for hunting this year. And kind of an interesting backstory behind this one is my dad has one of the original BAR Safaris that was released in 1980 in a 300 Win Mag. It was one of the guns, in Dad's gun safe that you just go, that is just like the coolest thing in the world. Well, this year, I finally was able to purchase my own BAR in, go figure, 300 Win Mag, which is my personal favorite caliber of all time.
Which I don't understand, folks. I don't know why he thinks that he needs such a big caliber for things. But we'll talk about that a little bit more.
I was going to say, we can get into that a little later.
We'll dig into that later. But the BAR started out in 1918 at the end of World War I, being made by Browning.
It was one of the last ones he actually ever made.
It was, but he developed it in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And then his son, Lieutenant Browning, was responsible for teaching the troops how to use it. And it was an automatic rifle. It was full auto, had 20-round box magazine. It
was meant as like a suppression.
It was for clearing trenches originally. And then it got modified, and in World War II, it had a higher fire rate. Still that 20-round box magazine available in 30-06. And it was just so widely used, and it was such a good gun. It was one of the first squad automatic weapons available anywhere. And so it just has such a huge history. And then after World War I, World War II, and even the Korean War, they turned it into the BAR, the Browning Automatic Rifle, turned into a sporting rifle, which is the current configuration of semi-automatic. Mm-hmm. They stopped doing the full auto versions when the military stopped using the BAR and turned it into this sporting rifle meant for hunting, meant for
I think it was, what did we find, 68 or 72 is when the sporting model started coming out?
1968.
It was 68, okay.
It was 68 when the original sporting model started coming out. And then they, of course, had the BLR variant, which was the lever action version.
Right. And then they had the Safari version, which was the Magnum calibers in 1980.
Yeah. And now we're all the way up to the Mark III.
Yep. More specifically, this is Browning's flagship BAR for this year, current year. This is the BAR Mark III. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, in the Onvix Cerakote camo.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the reliability. The BAR has a history of extreme reliability. This one, however, gave us some trouble when we got it.
Well, to its defense, though, I do not fault the gun for the issue we had. I fault Browning for not advertising it.
I agree.
However, I feel like it was a awesome addition to the Mark III. And I know what you're going to say. We didn't talk about the scoring in the categories for our new viewers that might be joining us today, correct?
That, and one other thing I want to mention about the BAR, even though Browning is a U.S. company.
Oh, yes. I love that fact that we found out.
And it was originally developed in Belgium, and then it started being manufactured in Portugal.
And it's still being made in the same factory in Portugal.
They are all made in every BAR since they moved to Portugal is made in Portugal. Even to this day, yes, it is an American rifle, but it is not American made. It's made in Portugal.
And that is because even though now it says right here, it says designed by Browning FN
Herstal, and Browning and FN Herstal kind of merged together, but they still use the same factory in Portugal that's Browning
all they make
started in.
That factory only makes the bar.
I don't know that they only make the bar, but they are the only place you can get a bar from.
And it's just incredible because I originally thought that these were all American made, and they're not.
You did, but I want to see. Yeah, sorry. Right here on the barrel, it even says "Made in Portugal" by Browning Viana. That's that factory, because every Browning BAR comes from that factory. That's just a cool fact that I wanted to mention to everybody, because that's not.
That was go through our head. We think it's an Americana.
I didn't even know that until we did some more research on this, and the BAR, the original Browning M1918, is my favorite gun of all time.
You got 20 grand laying around?
I wish I did.
We could probably get one for about 10 now, actually.
We might be able to. But anyway, let's dig into our scoring. Our scoring goes reliability, versatility, shootability, and cost. We score each category out of 5, and then total of 20, and those are to our opinion on whether or not this gun is
worth pursuing
for anyone, really. Now back to the problem of this gun.
So, what do a lot of semi-automatic rifles have nowadays?
Well, I wouldn't say a lot. I'd say the majority.
Okay.
They all have gas blocks.
But what in specific are we starting to notice a lot of companies migrating to?
Well, see, and that's still a hit or miss. But the thing that this one has, it has that gas block that you would expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's an adjustable gas block.
It's an adjustable gas block. And here's what's crazy about this. We were actually out in the field shooting this gun, getting it sighted in, getting ready to go for hunting. It was short stroking. We couldn't figure out it. Bought it brand new, factory new. Took it right out of the box, put the scope on it. Why is this not working? We'll come to find out after reading.
It took us actually 2 trips out to figure this out.
It's crazy.
So the first time we out, we had some hand loads.
And we thought it was the hand loads.
And we thought the hand loads were the issue because, that is a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we brought it back, and then we took it out with factory ammo.
Same thing.
And we had the same problem. And we just got so angry.
So frustrated. Well, after going through the owner's manual, Browning's website, it wasn't until I Googled it, literally Googled BAR Mark III short stroking. Voila, YouTube for the win. Adjustable gas block. But here's where it gets even trickier to me. Browning sends every single BAR now to you with the gas block completely closed.
Not completely closed. I had to turn it one full turn to fully close it.
Okay, so it's almost completely closed.
It's almost completely closed, which means you're going to get short stroking.
And here's what sucks about it. You have to remove the foregrip here, and actually, so you have to take the pin out here, the screw pin, remove this whole thing. Like, you almost have to disassemble the gun to actually even get to the gas block.
Yeah, but that originally, before we found that out, we were going to give this thing a 0.
Oh, I was literally about to call Browning and go,
give me my money.
What the crap?
You were. But once we figured that out, now this gun performs
phenomenal, like a bar.
Beautifully.
It performs like a bar. All right, Justin. One thing, though, for maybe some of our newer viewers or some of the people that aren't as
familiar,
let's actually talk about what a gas block versus adjustable gas block is.
So, a standard gas block is set by the factory to allow a specific amount of gas from you fire the round, the bullet goes down the barrel, followed by the gases, and the gas block diverts some of the gas back to cause the action to move and to eject the round and pull in the next one.
Correct.
That's what a gas block does. Now, a standard gas block is set by the factory at here's the amount of gas that's going to flow through it.
Here is your spec for whatever. You don't exceed this, period.
It's pre-drilled and it's stuck.
Correct.
This is the amount of gas going through.
Every BAR up till the Mark III has a preset gas block.
Now, the Mark III and a lot of AR-15s now have the adjustable, which you can adjust how much gas gets through to adjust how much gas gets pushed onto
to cycle the bolt.
The bolt. Now, this one, because we weren't expecting it, because we expected to have a standard gas block.
And a standard BAR, absolutely. And that was something that was different. We had to adjust, what was it? We went almost 2 turns?
2.5.
2.5 out. So we were 3.5 turns from fully closed, and the gun has cycled.
No. So we actually fully closed it.
And then we went back out.
And then it backed out 2.5. So we're 2.5 now.
And it has done amazing. And the hand loads, which are reloads that we've done or we've had my dad do for this gun in particular.
Yeah, so the hand loads are the ones that they're spent brass that we've put a new primer on, put more powder in, put a bolt back on, re-crimped them.
Yep.
Factory is, buy them from the store.
Yeah, going down to your local store and buying them. Anyway, this is a BAR in every sense of the word. Very reliable. We actually got the barrel pretty hot, because we were just enjoying the living crud out of it.
We were, but that's the great thing about that fluted barrel is it has a lot of surface area. It actually took the heat really, really well. There is one thing that I will say about the reliability that we still have a mild issue with.
Okay, I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
The release right here, on the bolt, when we put the mag in with ammo in it, for some reason, unless we play with it a little bit and then put it in there, that release doesn't actually release the bolt.
And I was doing a little bit more research on this. When Browning ships these to you, they are so stiff, and the tolerance on them is just so minimal that a lot of things I've been reading is you literally just got to do this. You've got to work that spring, you've got to work that pin and you've just got to work it in. This is a gun that literally I feel like has to go through an actual true break-in process.
Well, and most guns we have, there is a break-in process to the guns. They come a little stiff from the factory, and you got to wear them out just a tiny, tiny bit. This one, that bolt release is the only thing that I think has an actual issue. Everything else has been
phenomenal,
beautiful.
Well, and I feel like that even the bolt release lever right here that he's talking about will probably here really soon after the amount of rounds we've put down it already. I think we've got 50 or 60 down it now.
We've got about 60 down it right now.
And now that we actually know, and I've done a little bit more homework on this, I think we're going to be able to see this become less and less of an issue. I've also noticed, though, and unfortunately my dad's is the same way, unless you load this thing right, because I've noticed that when I've loaded it, it's kind of done the pop thing right here.
Yeah, and I think that's what the problem is.
That's where the problem is. So loading this thing correctly and making sure that the ammo's sitting in there right. Again, though, it's part of the break-in, and I think it just is part of, and it is a negative. I will admit that it's a negative. It's just part of the BAR's configuration at the same time, though. We've never, after we got the
short stroking figured out,
we've never had a failure to eject. We've never had a failure to feed. It's all been this. It's just been the normal bolt release. But when I take this and I just do the rack, it's been flawless.
Oh, absolutely flawless. This gun, and we put about 60 rounds down it, just getting it all sighted in. Then we took it on the side of a mountain.
And my poor barrel here kind of found a little bit of a rock when we were crawling there, but it's fine. We the Cerakoting barely. I mean, we barely got a little bit of Cerakoting off of it. It's still in
great shape, but it still shoots wonderfully.
It's a BAR. It's a battle tank. I mean, this thing's
So as far as reliability goes, this is actually going to get a 4.7.
A 4.7. Interesting.
4.7. I'm going to knock it those points
just a little bit. Okay.
That 0.3 because we have an issue here with the magazine,
and we're going to monitor it and see if we can get it figured out.
You know, I feel like after 60 rounds,
that should be almost
should be broken. We shouldn't be having that issue still, but we are.
I'm going to agree with you actually. It's because it's such a tiny thing here. At the same time, though, as much as I love this gun and I'm very biased with this gun, it can't achieve that 5. So I'm going to give it that 4.7 as well, for the same reason that you're giving it that. And again, though, I'm just going to say something about Browning here. I feel like whenever Browning builds a rifle, whenever they design a rifle, they design all of their guns with the purpose of hunting behind it. Every Browning I own, I feel like Browning's sole purpose behind it was, this gun is a hunting gun. This gun is going to be used for hunting. It is going to be in the field. We are designing this as a hunting gun, and they do a phenomenal job. And again, for this being a semi-automatic hunting rifle, blows my mind.
See, and it's a wonderful gun. I love the BAR. I always have. But I feel like they failed in one aspect.
Okay, what is that?
As far as making this a good hunting gun.
What was that?
It's heavy.
The gun is definitely a little heavy.
It's not as heavy as that VTR we talked about last time, but it is heavy.
At the same time, though, I was able to pack it around. I actually been able to hit a 80-inch gun at 200 yards freestanding and at the 100.
Yeah, no. Compared to the VTR, this is way lighter and way better.
I personally do blame myself, though, for the weight on this gun a little bit. I did put this massive 5x25 Vortex PST Gen 2 on it. I'm still toying with actually ripping this off and putting a more hunting friendly, for the type of hunting you and I do on it.
Yes, that I would agree with. But, you know, aside from it being heavy, very good gun.
Absolutely. Let's get into versatility now. Here's the thing, though. This gun is in 300 Win Mag. We're going to talk about it in the specific caliber that it's in. I, however, want to go over the vast range that the BAR is available.
I was going to say, but when we talk about versatility, we got to make sure we're mentioning all of the range that this can come in. And if you correct me if I'm wrong, you can get this as low as 223.
Yes.
But you can get it all the way up to the 300 Ultra.
And you can get up to 300 Ultra. They may actually make a 375 H&H?
375 H&H Magnum. I'm not sure if they make that with this gun or
not.
But
I know they go up to the Ultra.
But it's everything in between there.
Yes. You've got 223, 243, 308, 65, 7mm, 30-aught. It's, you just throw a handful of darts, you're going to hit it.
Pick a caliber you can buy.
Yeah, exactly.
And while this is an expensive gun,
yes, we'll get into that, and we'll talk about that later on cost.
We will. But this is a wonderful gun. It's got a lot of versatility
Absolutely.
into the gun. But let's talk about the 300 Win Mag caliber that I feel like is only good for moose and bear.
Well, and this is where, again, you and I, we're going to have this debate for as long as we're alive.
We are.
I love the caliber, and the reason why I picked it for elk hunting this year is simply, for those of you who don't know a lot about elk as a animal, they are they are actually an intelligent animal. They are machines, and you are at a very heavy disadvantage in hunting them. I picked a caliber and a gun that I am extremely comfortable with, and I felt very good and comfortable using. Now, yes, I know that it is overkill for deer. My dad actually made specific deer loads for me this year.
He did, but still, a 300 Win Mag against an elk. I mean,
in the territory that we were in the range that we were in, was probably a little overkill, especially with the scope I had on it. I definitely was mid to long range built when we were
short to mid.
We were very. I don't even know if we were mid. I think
there were one or two places that we got to mid,
and that was on the one draw that we were on day 1 and day 2. And I think the furthest I could range out was 650 yards.
Yeah, but even at 650 yards, you're not taking that shot.
No, I'm going to wait for him to walk in probably around the 450 mark.
Yeah. But at 450, I could have taken the elk with my 6.5.
Questionable at 6.5, but I'll still agree with you on that one, yes.
No, it has the energy to pierce the hide and actually get into the internal organs. I could have taken him at 450 with my 6.5.
Yeah.
But this is where you and I disagree, is with my...
We're becoming a little bit more... We're closing the gap.
We're closing the gap. But the 300 Win Mag imparts a lot more energy to the target.
Yes.
Which does impart a lot more killing power.
Well, it also imparts a lot more potential damage to the meat, and I understand that too. However, though, versatility on this, I feel like it is a upper big game round. I don't feel like I actually got my 6.5 out when our deer hunt started.
You did. And we took that around for a while because you do agree with me that the 6.5 is a better deer rifle than the 300 Win Mag.
300 just, even with those loads that my dad made, they were 125 Hornady SSDs or something like that is what they were. What's that one that Hornady makes? Those red tips, they're like the ELDXs.
The ELDX is the Hornady red tips that I use.
But what's the other one? Is it the SSDs or the SDs or
SST?
SSTs, yeah, those are the ones my dad loaded. I even kind of felt like and he went like minimum powder load and went like right above it for those. I still was a little hesitant, so that's why I swapped out. That's why to me it goes elk and everything up from elk at that point.
Yeah, and I'll agree. For an elk, it's probably an okay caliber. Mm-hmm. I still think it's overkill.
Right.
But I mean, with one of the guys that we ran into up hunting, your brother-in-law.
Oh yeah.
He was using a 300 Ultra, and he ended up taking 2 shots on an elk.
That was a very big elk, though, that he did take.
But
I am not surprised that he had to put 2 rounds into that guy. That was a very beefy. Great take. Very happy for my brother-in-law, though. That was an awesome take for him.
Awesome take for him. It was great elk. Looked fantastic. But that's where, 300 Win Mag probably isn't as out there as I think it is for elk.
Right.
And
that's okay. Again, this is our opinion.
I still feel like it's
a little overkill.
It's a little
and that's
overkill.
Respectful. Let's talk about this then. So, just to give you what I was using for elk in this, I had a box of factory ammo, and then I had my dad's hand loads. Both were, so the factory ammo were 180 or 178. I apologize, Hornady ELDXs, and I bought those on your recommendation because we always want to have some extra ammo around, especially when we go hunting. I was rocking my dad's hand loads though, his reloads that he made me, and those were 180 AccuBonds, and I love AccuBonds. I love Nosler's AccuBond on that. So what would be your score on the versatility, keeping in mind the vast range that this gun comes in?
The vast range that this gun comes in gives this a versatility score above what
this particular one would get.
This particular one would get. The rifle itself is a full 5 out of 5.
I would agree.
Because this is one of those rifles that comes in that really low varmint category.
All the way up to
you can take a rifle like this
into Alaska
and go after Alaskan grizzly.
Oh yes, absolutely. Now I feel like I want to do 2 scores. Is that okay if we kind of split the category a little bit here?
Explain to me why you want to split the category a little bit.
Well, just because versatility. I mean, you know what? That's fine. Let's just do it as it is as a 300. What's your versatility score as it is as a 300?
No, because we've talked about this.
Okay, so we're okay then going down that road then. Okay.
We need to talk about the availability of the rifle itself, not just the caliber.
That's fine then. I would give it a 5 out of 5 too. And I apologize. I'm talking about this with my... We're just having fun here, folks. So I appreciate everybody working with us here a little bit. I would go 5 out of 5. All right, let's get into our next category, which is...
shootability.
Shootability, okay.
Now, this rifle...
Mm-hmm.
Extremely shootable.
Yes.
Because the way that this rifle handles the recoil, even in the 300 Win Mag,
it's phenomenal.
Is phenomenal. This rifle hits about the same as my 6.5 Creedmoor.
And that's insane because we're talking a 6.5 here versus a 300 Win Mag here. I mean, we're talking huge.
You know, the overall length of the cartridges is vastly different, but not only that, your brass is so much longer with so much more powder behind it.
What was your powder loadout in your 6.5?
So the maximum powder loadout I could get in my 6.5 was 42 grains.
And mine were 68 grains.
Yours actually, the maximum that I could find before it became a compressed load was 70.
Okay, 70 grains. So we're talking potentially almost double the amount of powder. And that recoil, I agree with you, is phenomenal.
It's phenomenally well managed. So this is a gun that, much like the VTR, I would take. Oh, it's their second time out. Yeah, let's
play with it. Yeah,
let them shoot the bar. It would be from the bench on their second time out.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't let them shoot freestanding till third or fourth time out. But yeah, this gun just. It shoots so well.
Let's talk about weight distribution because you and I sometimes we love to criticize firearms because a lot of them have the weight all up here. This gun,
the weight.
I will knock myself for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I screwed up, so we need to take this out of the equation here.
This right here doesn't add, even with this, it doesn't add enough weight to the front end to cause too much complaint for me because the weight all comes in right here.
And I love it right there. It's very controllable. It's very wieldable.
It's right there. And the only reason I can't pick up the gun entirely is because, it's very awkward to do on the blade in your hand. But I pick it up right there and it's balanced.
Very well. It's very nice.
So it's very well balanced gun. And so yes, we complain about that a lot on most firearms because a lot of their weight is all right up here.
Mm-hmm.
And back here feels like it's nothing. But this one, they've just distributed it so well across the whole platform.
Well, and as it sits right now, here's the other crazy thing about this. This gun clocks in on the long action. It clocks in at 7.6 pounds with no scope. I am, with this scope, right under 10. So when I take this scope off and replace it with a lighter scope, I'm going to be probably around 9 pounds, which for a rifle like this,
that's awesome.
That is even a backpacking gun at that point.
I mean,
it's going to be a little heavy. It borderlines there.
It is a little heavy, but you were able to. In total, we did anywhere from 45 to 55 miles. This last hunting trip we went on, and you carried this for at least 30.
I think I only used the 6.5 one day, and that was I used it for 2, and that's when we went in. We were on the lower elevation. We went in and did those 5-mile loops. So yeah, I probably did about 35 miles with
About
this thing on
35
my
miles
back.
with this thing on your back.
With a 20 to 30 pound bag.
Yeah, and the only time you complained was when I dragged you up the hill.
Yeah, that was, well, we were both, I think, were complaining at that point.
Yeah, we were. It didn't matter what you had on your back
You
at that
were,
point.
that one was painful.
That was painful. But that's the only time you complained about the weight of it. And so I would even say even now it could qualify as a backpacking gun.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like we proved that.
Yeah, so this is just a really, really good gun.
What are you going to give it, man? I'm very curious on this.
You know, for shootability, it's getting a full 5 out of 5.
I would agree.
Because not only is it easy to shoot, it's easy to carry around. It's not heavy to the point where you can't shoot it like that, like some of the rifles we have. Mm-hmm. It's accurate as well.
This is a very accurate gun. Let's talk about that for a second. And I actually want to mention one more thing that was part of the reason that went into me picking a semi-automatic over a bolt action, follow-up shots. This gun cycles extremely fast, and it is extremely accurate. I think at 100 yards. Okay, now I gotta tell the story. This is hilarious.
No, you find it hilarious. I find it frustrating.
Hey, I bought you 3 more. I don't want to hear
You bought me
it.
2.
Whatever. I replaced the one and bought you 2 more with it.
No,
we took this out and we were shooting 3/8 steel gongs, our 8-inch gongs. Mind you, they weren't really rated for the 300 Win Mag. Okay, this is how funny this gets. After we shot the gong, and it put the mark on the gong.
It divoted the gong, really nice big divot. And I looked at him and I told him, dude, stop shooting the 100-yard gong. You got to shoot the 200-yard gong. This gong isn't rated to handle the 300 Win Mag.
Well, and what was funny is so I started shooting. I think it was at 250 actually that day. We had it out a little further.
It might have been 250.
The gong, we actually spun it around to where it was just the 3/8 steel showing. It was the blade showing. So I started actually trying to shoot the gong to try and get it to rotate. When we went up there, you could see where it was burning and blazing the gong. It was actually creating that.
As far as accuracy goes, we turned that 8-inch steel gong to a 3/8 inch profile realistically, and both with my rifle that we had out there that day and this, we were grazing either side of it. We never actually did land right on the middle of it.
No,
but we were hitting sides of the gong.
Well, and what was crazy
back
to me,
100-yard gong.
My last shot of the day, I decided to take freehand. And I aimed in the exact same spot on the 100-yard gong. I blew a hole through the gong. And it wasn't like when it came out, it was like fanned out or flowered out. It literally was a hole. A full bore. I overlapped bullets and blew that thing.
Where the divot was,
I overlapped.
You overlapped and punched a hole through the gong. And it looks like you took a drill bit to it
and drilled a hole in the gong.
Through the gong.
That's why, to me, and I know this plays into like some shootability and some versatility and reliability in all 3 of those categories. This is at 100 yards to me. This is a sub MOA rifle, absolutely.
Oh no,
at that point,
this rifle at 100 yards, you could hit the same target all day long.
And then the
way that it cycles and the reliability of it and the way that it handles the recoil, you realistically could shoot it all day long.
Well, and not only that, what blew me away, and give me your thoughts on this too, and then we'll move on, is how easy was it for target reacquisition?
Oh, well, I mean, as far as target reacquisition, I feel like that's more to the scope.
But I'm talking the recoil and the ease of use to actually reacquire.
Well, we've talked about that already. The recoil is almost non-existent. Mm-hmm. It's managed extremely well, which made it really easy to get back on target.
I agree with you. Absolutely. So I just felt like that was important, especially when we're talking about this particular one being a Magnum cartridge. All right, let's get into what I always say is either the most important or the second most important category when buying a firearm, and that is, how much did you spend?
And this is where this gun
is going to lose a few points, maybe.
It's going to lose a few points.
All right, so this is like I said, this was my new one for hunting season this year. I got on Gunbroker. I bid on it. This was one that I won in a bid. And it was factory new.
It was factory new. But before we get into that, because I feel like anything bought on Gunbroker, whether it's factory new or not,
doesn't count.
That is the used market.
Okay, I get it.
If you were to buy this gun
in
a store, how much?
First off, it's a special order. This one is a special order.
I'm aware of that.
Okay, it's $2,000. This particular gun MSRP's at so it MSRP's at $2,000, which means that if you go to a certain gun store, probably like I would say a Shield or something, you're probably looking at $1,900 to $1,950 realistically.
Yeah, but you're right below the $2,000 mark.
You're in the premium market almost.
You are. Well, I feel like that's the beginning of the premium.
Yeah,
market.
I would agree with that.
Now, $2,000 for this thing.
Yes.
I hate to say it. I don't think it's there.
Okay.
But I have a hard time saying it's not there as well, just because it is such a good gun.
To be fair, though, you and I, when it comes to cost, you and I have a very different opinion and outlook on that, and I respect that. At the same time, though, you've also surprised me on quite a few things, especially with some of the alcohol we reviewed and the firearms where you've gone, I feel like it's worth more than what you actually pay for. But I do respect that. Knowing that, though, knowing how you feel about this, please give me your score. I'm very interested to hear your opinion on this.
On this one, I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay, I actually, you're about half a point higher than I thought you were going to be.
No, I'm not going to knock it too much on the cost, because it is, again, it's made in Portugal, so we have to bring it back to the U.S. to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Browning has put a lot of time and effort into it. They've Cerakoted it nicely. They've fluted the barrel.
Yep.
They crowned the barrel so that
is a beautiful crowning job up there too, and a lot of guns now aren't even crowned anymore.
No, they're not. But it's got a beautiful crowning up there that helps handle that recoil. They did a wonderful job on the stock here. The foregrip is nice and textured and actually grippy. So it's done really, really, really well.
Well, and how many different elements was this thing in over our 9-day hunting trip?
Well, we had heat.
Yeah, up to 80 degrees the one day.
Dirt.
Got
rained on.
Got snowed on. Mud.
Then it got in the mud.
And then it got up the side of a rock cliff.
Like I said, it's a phenomenal gun.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time justifying a $2,000 gun when you start getting into that range and you start getting into these very, very unique, very bespoke, very well crafted and just crazy guns.
What do you think? What would you pay for this gun?
Honestly, $1,750.
Okay. Now, back to what I was talking about earlier, can I tell you how much I personally paid for this gun?
Now you can tell me how much you paid.
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
Go ahead.
You got to tell me what your score is at the factory's price.
4.5.
Okay.
I give it a full 4.5. And the reason why I give it a full 4.5, my personal opinion is I don't think there's very few guns out there that I think are worth the MSRP that the manufacturer sets. That is my personal opinion. Okay? That's how I go off of this. However, this gun is a phenomenal gun. It's almost I almost feel like it's worth the MSRP. However, I purchased this gun for $1,650.
See, and if that were the MSRP and what you would add, a normal price for it, full 5 out of 5. I'd pay that all day long for this.
Now, in saying that, though, you can find this gun. You have to dig a little bit, okay? And a lot of it's on Gunbroker. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. You got to dig a little bit. I can find this gun pretty readily available for around $1,750 to $1,850 all day.
Yeah.
Factory new.
But still, factory new, all that means is that somebody got it, They're not selling it in their store, so they've put it on GunBroker.
Yep.
To sell it on GunBroker, or somebody bought it from a store and then decided they didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
It does not mean that the gun hasn't been used. All it means is that it still has all the original packaging, and they still have all the plastics.
Well, and to be fair to GunBroker, they've changed a lot of their rules on factory new. You actually do have to meet certain criteria now to actually even list as factory new.
Yeah.
But to your point, though, yes, this was in a shop in, I want to say Texas or Minnesota, and it wasn't moving, so they put it on GunBroker. But it is this one is factory new, and they have changed a lot of that. Anyway, I feel like overall, I'm so impressed with this gun.
I am too. This is a very, very, very good gun. And it does earn the points that we gave it on this one.
I feel like it's earned every single point. And in my opinion, that price category does feel like knock quite a few people out of the running for it, just because it is an expensive gun. It's not a cheap gun.
It's not. But at the same time, you can, and we did, beat the crap out of this thing.
It got punished, and it has come through with shining colors, man. This thing has earned its medal.
But we beat the crap out of it, but we can still do, half inch at 100 yards.
Absolutely. Well, here's the other thing that's really neat about this. So when we were taking this thing apart, the swivel stud system actually on these are kind of unique, and we over torqued it on accident, and we snapped it off, and I called Browning, and they're like, yeah, how many you need? I just need one. Okay, where do you live? Okay, yeah, I should be there by Friday. Customer service was excellent. They actually took the constructive criticism that I had for them. Look, you guys need to put in your owner's manual, like big, bold, red lettering, like on the first or second page, adjustable gas block. And the gentleman that I was talking to said, I agree with you. I like that. I'm going to pass that along to our division that actually writes the owner's manuals for this gun, because he's like, I see your frustration, and he's like, I would feel frustrated at that. Great customer service, though, by the way.
No, great customer service from Browning on this. But I agree with you. They did need to put in big letters.
Mm-hmm.
This has an adjustable gas block that must be adjusted prior to use.
Absolutely. Justin, you have very much surprised me on your score, 18.7. That is, wow, okay.
Now, you say I surprised you. Is that higher or lower than you thought?
That's higher. Like, I figured this thing was going to clock in around 15.
No. And I know you thought I was going to knock it more because of the 300 Win Mag.
Oh, I just thought you were going to knock him also for cost, in all reality, too.
Again, he's not that unreasonable for as good as it is. I just don't like, again, when you start hitting 2,000 plus, you start getting into so many guns that are, many of them are unique.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are purpose built for something, and it's just, it's hard.
Tight market.
It's a tight market. It's hard to justify hunting a off-the-shelf hunting rifle at $2,000.
Well, in all honesty, it's kind of like when we talk about alcohol. When we get to that $100 mark on some of the bottles that I have and up, that's when, even at the $80 to $100 mark, it just becomes very cutthroat at that point.
It
we
really
have
does.
To get nitpicky.
And
if we're nitpicking this, which we have, and you're giving it an 18.7, I apologize, and I'm giving it
you got to give it a 19.2, which for me surprises me, because I thought you were going to give this a full solid 20 out of 20.
The reliability thing, I can't argue this. I can't deny this.
You're right.
The cost, the reason why I knock it a little bit on cost is I feel like I said, I don't feel like any gun, very few, very, 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 very few are worth the MSRP. This gun, however, I feel like it is, again, though, I'm not knocking Browning. I love Browning. I own a lot of Brownings. You're also paying for the name.
You are paying for the name.
We're going to be very brutally, brutally honest about this. You are paying for the name.
However, this Browning is one, because we've talked about a Ruger, we've talked about a Remington,
Talked about an H&K.
talked about an HK, and now we're talking about Browning. And, Ruger, Remington, Browning are...
Especially H&K.
Well, but just Ruger, Remington, Browning, there's 3 huge U.S.-based
Oh, yeah.
hunting rifle companies.
The only other one we could probably throw in there would be Winchester. And, I mean, there you go. There's America.
There's America's hunting rifle range.
For the last 100-plus something years.
Winchester's the only one we haven't talked about yet. But of the 3 that we have talked about, we have knocked Remington hard.
Remington got
because Remington... we feel like Remington failed us.
The last 7 years that they were in business was very painful.
Ruger, same thing. We knocked them pretty hard when we did my 270.
Yeah, I feel like they tried to invent the wheel though on that one a little bit more than
because they over engineered it, and they tried something that they really didn't need to try, and it ruined the gun. But the Browning, you have several of them. And the reason you have several of them is they haven't failed.
Well, and here's the other reason I feel like that too is this gun's been around for 100 years now. It's 2023. It's over 100 years now.
Yeah, it's over
1918.
We're 105 years in.
Do you know the only major modification in the actual function of this gun, what it was?
Well,
besides it being sporterized.
The gas block.
Okay, the gas block, and then they created what's called the Boss system bolt, and that played in conjunction with
the gas block.
Other than that, the fundamental parts of this rifle and how this gun functions and is used have stayed the same throughout the history of the gun. And that's the thing I love about Browning. They know what they're good at, and they do it phenomenally well. And I apologize, I cut you off.
You did, but that's the thing is Browning, of all of those rifles, Remington tried to reinvent the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Ruger tried to reinvent the bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Browning went, it works. Why mess with it?
Wait, hold on. Adjustable gas block?
Oh, those are cool. Those actually...
That makes sense.
That makes sense. It gives us a little bit more versatility on that rifle. Yeah, let's do that.
And it gives people the ability who want to use different loads. Maybe they're using XYZ and they need ABC. This is going to give them that ability to do it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
Browning does such a good job.
They really do.
They haven't failed us on any of the rifles we've used of theirs yet.
And I will buy more of them. Well, Justin, as much as I really want to keep talking about this, it is Halloween and I'm a little scared.
You should be scared. One thing, again, we like to talk about this on all the guns. You got the Vortex PST
Gen 2
on here. It's a good piece of glass.
Yeah, it was great.
It just
overkill.
Overkill. And we will eventually do an episode where we have just all the different
scopes,
glass there. But this one, again, it's a Vortex, and Vortex does great on the scopes.
This was just a really good piece of glass. Again, I do feel like it's a little overkill for the gun. Scope I'm probably going to end up swapping out as Trijicon makes a 3.5 by 15 or something like that. I'm probably going to end up swapping for that.
I mean, I'd look and see if Vortex has one because I know how much you have such good luck with Vortex, dude.
But I also love my Trijicon too. I got that big old Trijicon on the Sendero, and I love that piece of glass too.
You do.
Anyway, let's wrap up here, guys. Thank you for joining in and listening to us. I know we kind of got a little long-winded, but when we get a firearm like this,
we have to go into a little bit more depth.
Absolutely.
On this one. We'll be back shortly with some
fun. Oh, I'm scared. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a
fun time.
Have a great day. Stay safe out there. I'm Chris.
Well, I want to tell him my name.
Well, tell him your name. Are you that scared?
I don't need any of you reporting me for what I'm about to do to him.
Oh, God.
All right. Anyway, I'm Justin. Have a great night, folks.
Have a good night. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.